I am so thrilled. I am such a big fan of Professor Becky Parker. I can hardly contain my excitement. So, welcome, Becky, to Ask the Expert. Um, and we're going to just launch straight in with lots and lots of questions. The first one kind of describes a little bit about your background. So, you have had the most remarkable, well decorated career path from starting with a physics degree and doing some research in the US, teaching in schools, still teaching in schools, I have to hasten to add, to working with CERN, with NASA, the UK Space Agency. I know you were quite excited about the rocket launch this week. So and now what you're doing, what's the thread that led you to this new initiative that we're going to talk about, which is Project Earth? What's brought you to this point?
So I think my key thing is that I don't think that in education we value the input of our students enough. And, I go to education meetings, they're all about how we deliver this, how we deliver that. And I'm always saying, what about what the students think? What about their contribution? And I suppose what was so impactful. I started really early on with the False telescope. I don't know, it doesn't quite exist in the same way now, but it was brilliant in that it allowed you to do live observing on telescopes in Hawaii. And I was organizing a local, they said, would I be a local hub? Yes. And I thought, I don't want just the local astronomers coming, I want my students. And my students in this first day found four new near Earth objects, which were, not yet reported to the Harvard Minor Planet Center. I mean, they weren't big things. It wasn't like, the stuff the US Navy picks up, but it was just significant. And the kids, like that student who led that project, is now working at NASA, for example. And
Amazing.
these students, like the transformation when you, rather than say, learn this, this is got an answer at the back of the book. If you say, have a look at this data, nobody's looked at it before. How can you put your amazing, fearless, unblinkered mind? And so then we went and worked with CERN. And there was this amazing moment when we got back from a CERN trip in 2007 where the kids said, could we enter this competition and put that technology we've seen in CERN up in space? And I said, well, I bet they've done that. I'll just phone up CERN this afternoon. And then ensued this sort of race, although we worked with them a lot, with NASA and my state school kids as to
Amazing.
who could put this technology in open space first. And we did. And that was partly because an amazing person at Surrey Satellite Technology helped us. And so always, in setting up Iris. And now what I felt with Project Earth is young people have the best ideas. They're not set. Why not support them and take them seriously and value their contributions? So that's
That
my fundamental thing, which I'm always banging on. Why don't we value
I think
young people more?
anybody watching this will see what your fundamental your ethos is. It's that passion, that drive. You made those steps to allow that to happen, but the children themselves, the students, actually put it into play, and I think that's absolutely key. We are undervaluing our young people in those classrooms, and programs like Iris, which is the Institute of Research in Schools, really can promote that understanding of citizen science, of that finding out new stuff that people don't know is such key, so key to being a scientist and working in science, and then inspiring them to go on and work with places like NASA and things. How incredible. And but there's another aspect to this as well. So we're trying to make sure that young people are doing something that's useful, fundamentally interesting, and sharing it and sending those ripples out. But I've heard you state it needs to stop being eco anxiety and become eco action. Where does that conviction stem from? Have you seen young people struggling? So that idea that, we can prevent anxiety by taking action is key to my own mantra, really. But where does that conviction with you come from?
Yeah, well, so a few years ago, I had a chance to teach the whole of year nine about the climate. And there were huge numbers of students who said, there's no point, miss. it's all terrible. And I said, no, there is point. And what I got them to do is sort of, in a sense, build the foundations of Project Earth, start thinking about what they could do. And I then piloted Project Earth in my school, and half the sixth form chose it. And we had a huge number of presentations at the end of last year, just telling an audience of visitors and parents and things about what they'd done. And everybody said, goodness, they're so positive, they're so hopeful. Because actually, if young people are given a chance to contribute and to realize the career opportunities, the amazing opportunities that will be out there for them in fields where they haven't even considered, they're, medicine, law, or engineering, but engineering is going to be amazing in terms of so I see this, and I went to Wales, I had a fantastic call with Northern Ireland. I've talked to lots of people in Scotland, let alone people across Europe and India and United Arab Emirates, and these students who are contributing, well, I mean, they're probably still worried about the planet, as we all are, because it's so urgent, but they are doing what they can and they are making an impact. And I think, that is enough to make you feel that actually things might change and that young people might have a chance to contribute to their future. It's their future. My year 10s, now who was I talking to? Yeah, year 10s, year 11s, they're going to be 40 in 2050. That's young. They were saying, well,
Yep.
miss,
They're
that's
going to be
not
at the
that
top of their
long.
career potential.
Yeah. And so they want some agency in that.
Yep. Absolutely. And and seeing the joy and enthusiasm on their faces, just as sharing it out and
Yeah.
listening to their stories. So the origin of the Project Earth story is quite extraordinary. So I know you contacted Prince William,
Yeah.
fearless you are, suggesting a youth version of this Earthshot prize, which has been really quite successful. And he replied supportively, but couldn't take it on because obviously he's Prince William and kind of in training for the throne and all the rest of it. So you've done it yourself. I mean, I think that's just, was such a lovely, sort of, I'm going to just do it. I'm just going to take this action. So what was going through your mind? Because you must have had questions about, should I go ahead and build it? Or, what's going through your mind?
I suppose I thought there really should be a youth Earthshot. I was really worried when Earthshot was launched that where's the youth aspect because of all that potential and the pathway through. And so I thought, well, I mean, my worry when he replied and said, he couldn't do it. I thought, no, well, I mean, it's got to be done. So, uh, how do we do that? I thought, teachers, as I know, are totally busy and you can't pile on extra things because it's just not feasible. So I thought, how would a mechanism to allow teachers to run this but not give them huge extra workload? So I thought what I need is some amazing people to be advisors. And then I did this sort of mad thing. I happened to see Michael Mann on, it was Channel 4 News actually, and I thought, oh my goodness, he's brilliant. So I found out where he was, I wrote to him, and then I got one of those automatic replies saying, I'm very busy. But then within an hour, I got a direct reply from him saying, I don't think this
One
exists.
of the biggest names in climate science said
I
yes to you,
know.
Becky. I mean, I think that just shows your power.
I mean, I was like, I was walking actually, I was seeing my sister in London. I went, I just was in the middle of the street. And I thought, oh my goodness. So I just thought I've got to get a whole group of people who will be amazing at supportive. So we've got one advisor who has developed. I met him and he said, I wish I'd had this because I had my idea for my company, which he now runs, when I was 13. And so now he's been a great support with students who've been doing like heat pump type things and energy transfer type things. So I just thought, right, if we could have a mechanism to take the load off teachers and to provide a system that projects come in and that we then get advisors to help them. And then I met an amazing person who makes brilliant AI to help students, Chris Bush, and he's written a chat bot for us specifically to help students develop their project, not give them the answers, not a sort of chat GPT thing, a way of actually encouraging to think
Questioning.
about the
Yeah.
issues. So Scout then is there. So we're hoping, and it's really interesting, like the teacher in Northern Ireland I'm working with, she was just inspired by the whole thing and has students got these brilliant ideas which are all going to be pitched at Pitch for the Planet, which you're really welcome to come to. Um, and, it's sort of, I think, I don't know about you, Mel, and I'm sure this is the case for you, but I find somebody was saying, why be a teacher? Uh, just this last week, a thing I was doing. And I said, well, because, I'm interacting with all these amazing young people, but also if you find a way to do things which are really exciting, the teachers themselves are getting passionate about it because they can see what the young people are doing. And then, I take my kids all over the place as much as I can these days. And, when they see opportunities for green careers and opportunities for them, it's sort of empowering and backing them up, sort of supporting them all steps of the way.
Yes, honestly, and you've got some of, I mean, not just Michael Mann, you've got some incredible,
And you?
incredible advisors. Well, including me, but I'm right down at the lowest
No,
of the
you're not. No, you're not.
list. But but it's it's getting those young people to talk to you know people with huge amounts of experience in this environmental landscape, whether they're educators or actually working on the top levels of climate science. And I think that also just breaks down those barriers that young people, because when we're working with Young Green Britain Challenge, we encourage young people to reach out in their network, talk to their MP, talk to people in local businesses, talk to, not just the teachers around them, not just their parents, but think bigger. And I think
Yeah.
that's really, really important. And having a mentor, I've gone all my life, I'm 56 years old, I've never had a mentor. So for these young people to be linked up with advisors, it's an incredible opportunity. And so I know that this is just like I know you did a pilot last year, and I'll talk about more about that in a moment. But this is the first really big year for Project Earth, and I can't
Yeah.
see it's ever going to end, Becky. You're going to be doing this in the next 30, 40 years.
When I'm
Honestly,
110,
we'll just
I'll
wheel you
be.
in. Don't you worry. um, so, so you've kind of talked about what the journey would look like for students, and it's about getting those teachers kind of aware of what the opportunity is and the initiative is, and then them just signing up, and then the students themselves lead it as much as possible with this. I love the fact that you've got an AI, a chatbot, so they can talk and that will ask them the questions that maybe the teacher wouldn't necessarily ask. So some of the student ideas from the last year's pilot were really striking. You've got wristbands for air quality monitors, which become invaluable in high pollution areas, or for young people who maybe have asthma. Devices to extract methane from barns, because we know that it's going to be really tricky to get people off meat entirely. So offshore wind farm biodiversity solutions. How do you nurture that genuine innovation, to try and get them to really understand what those complicated problems are and then find a good solution?
I think the key is uh, it's quite a hard balance in a way because I don't want to say here's a whole set of ideas you could do. I think the key is to allow the students a bit of space to think about what their passion is. So, for example, with the Northern Ireland school, we had a little call and I talked about, there are lots of areas where you could look into, and they had their passion about looking at the diversity of life and the biodiversity underwater and how they might protect that because that was their passion. So I think it's very much. So I had some students, for example, who said, I really want to make a coat which absorbs carbon dioxide, which I thought was brilliant. So we got one of our advisors to look at the chemistry, and they said, well, you can actually need these sort of chemicals to extract it out of your coat. And we had all these things. So it really depends, I think, on giving the students ownership to start and then being there to help them. So there's obviously various phases. They've got to think about what area in this huge world of I mean, we sometimes use the five earthshot areas: waste, clean air, revive our oceans, nurture, recover nature and fix the climate. And then within that, are there areas? Have you an eco club? Are people working on certain things? And then say, right, now you've got a start of an idea, research what's being done already. How can, and then of course, Scout will help you with that. How can are any of our advisors? This is something which we've noted this year, and not enough people have come forward. They think that our advisors will help at the end. Well, our advisors are there to help all the way through. So, how will our advisors, or if we haven't got a right advisor, I'll ask somebody else. How can they help you develop this idea, and then start thinking about what would this look like in practice? So, how can we make a prototype, or how can we start our story, what might work. So, should we make this? Should we have this sort of social transformation? Should we write a book? The shrimp with the limp. So, all these amazing ideas which students come up with, and then really being there. I mean, the wonderful thing about Project Earth is, I think, I hope, is that students develop all those amazing teamwork skills, communication skills,
Yes.
presentation skills. So regularly, about once every 5 weeks, I have my students for like 1 hour a week enrichment, uh, and I get them to say what's the state of play. We'll have a short presentation from each group, and then we all feed back and help them what's the next steps. So actually, in terms of their ability to present their ideas and research and think about how they can learn independently and look up and connect with people, it's powerful from lots of other really good skills which they need to learn.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, Becky, honestly, I could talk to you for hours, but I've only got another few minutes in this
Okay.
video. So, you have a major showcase at the Royal Institution in London in June, this June coming up, and it's going to bring together 300 students in person and virtually, because this is international. You've got programs in Portugal and UAE and everywhere. Um, Now, the Ministry of Eco Education obviously is excited about this kind of platform, raising those young voices. What do you hope that the celebration event, that the competition really will represent for students, and hopefully, I'm hoping you're going to record it, so for the wider world that might watch.
Yeah. So on a number of levels, really. So the format of the day is about 30 to 35 short pitches from the students. You're really, if you're watching this and want to come, we still got the odd space. Please come, it's going to be amazing. We've got then about 10 short, snippety, really short bits from lots of young people who are doing degree apprenticeships, who are in green energy. We've got Danielle George, who's amazing, from University of Manchester. We've got an astronaut, Megan Christian. We've got amazing short, snippety contributions from others to give young people a taste of the opportunities, the fields they can go into, and the paths they can do that. But I think the main thing is that those young people will have, they're not gonna win a competition. They're all gonna be congratulated and given certificates and things. Those young people will have input from scientists, advisors, engineers, climate specialists, investors, and we want to elevate their contribution in the same way that a normal climate accelerator would. And so we're hoping to have, it's interesting. It's so funny, Mel. I bumped into Evan Davis on the train going home one day from London, and he interviewed me when we put our payload up in space, and he was really interested. And I said, "You probably won't remember me." And he said, "Didn't you do something with Surrey Satellite Technology?" And he said, "Well, when you've got something which is equivalent to that, let me know." So I've obviously been in touch with media because I want the world to see that young
Young people.
people are genuinely contributing. It doesn't have to be when you're at university, when you've got a company. And so when we did our first sort of trial with Manuela, who pitched to the Imperial demo day about the device to take methane out of barns, they all thought she had a company. And she said, but I'm 17, I'm at school. And they were like, what? But that's the thing. We want these investors to see that the people who are going to win the Earthshot Prize in the future, the people who are going to be the green entrepreneurs, you need to start them at school. So come and support us when they're at school, because that's the future, isn't it?
Absolutely. And sometimes we look at this sort of like the production wheel that is the education system, that people are coming out. My husband is now walking in the back of this is a living, working.
Hello.
No,
Hello.
really, I'm recording this.
Are you?
Yes, this is going to go out. This is
I'm
my
wearing
husband.
my best clothing.
He works on our small holding, does
Yeah.
other things as
I'm
well.
busy digging in first early potatoes. There you go.
You go. So we know, because we know that food resilience is a problem. And so what do? I try and lead by example. We have a small holding, and I send my husband out to dig the potatoes while I get to talk to you, Becky. I love a bit of reality show. The dog was there earlier. And I think that's it. And I think it's about raising those youth voices and listening to what they say, because it's not just we want climate action. It's like we have some some recommendations and suggestions for how to take climate action. Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Perfect. So we know that these young people are growing up with this weight of extra environmental challenges that when you and me were kids, we just didn't have. We didn't have that in past generations. So what's the final message to educators about how they can carry some of that weight for their students and maybe fuel action rather than despair?
So please join up with us. There's no cost or anything at all. Let us support you. Let us support your students. Come to Pitch for the Planet. If you can't come, look at our social media, because we'll be putting out videos on YouTube. We'll be encouraging your students to get involved. There's loads of information on our website, www.projectearth.global. Loads of videos and help to get you geared up. Please just get involved, because I think you will find the students just engage, respond, feel empowered, feel positive, and they can change the world. And I think that's really
and
for them
actually
to feel.
can they can
They
change the
can.
world.
Yeah,
I
of
don't
course they
it's
can.
not just about what do you want to be when you grow up. It's like I want to learn about all of these different careers. My daughter came out of school and said, when she was looking for courses to do at university, and she was like, oh, biology, geography. And I was like, well, what do you like? She said food. And I said, become a food scientist. She was like, that's not a thing. It's like, yes, it is, and they really need it in terms of food and sustainability. So it's about engaging young people, getting them to think beyond the classroom walls, and interact with professionals. And honestly, Becky, I couldn't ask for a more beautiful Ask an Expert chat than with you, because you exude energy, and that ripple goes outwards from you. And so I know that you said we'll do Project Earth, and you've done it, and you've led that independently. So, and that enthusiasm you have, Becky, honestly, I wish I could bottle it and just distribute it to the world as a form of clean energy for everyone to partake in. So the date of the actual final is in London is the 26th.
26th of June. 26th of June, Friday, 26th of June. Email me on becky@projectearth.global. Please be involved. It'd be gorgeous to have as many teachers, and you'll love it. I bet you'll love it, because when kids come up with things like shrimp with a limp, you can do nothing but smile, because it's just, and they're just loving it, and everything's positive, and it's their responsibility. So it's not a huge stress for you, and we'll take the strain. So get involved. It'd be brilliant.
And so if people have missed the boat this time, because I know the deadline is just about coming up for this year for entering, you're definitely thinking about doing it next year.
Oh, yes. Yes, this is just the start. We're going to be bigger and better and all over the world next year.
Fantastic. I love that. Becky Parker, it has been such a joy. You've literally put a smile right on my face. And good luck for that final event. I think I'm going to have to book my train ticket because I don't want to miss out. And it's so excited. And let's send those waves, shock waves of energy and joy and enthusiasm for finding solutions